This video will show you how to make your VoiceThread accessible. Fortunately, captions are built into VoiceThread, but I'll show you how to edit those and how to make sure all the accessibility features are turned on. So the first thing you want to do is navigate to the VoiceThread website. While VoiceThread is integrated with Canvas, you want to make sure you're using the VoiceThread website to edit your VoiceThreads. Your main page should look something like this. As you can see, I have a couple of VoiceThreads. If you need to make one, hit the plus icon, and it'll walk you through the steps to create a VoiceThread. We also have videos showing that. Once you're on the website, you need to click the play button on your VoiceThread. Okay, this takes me to all of my slides. I then click on the slide that I wish to edit. So I've attached audio to the slide. Again, we have separate videos for instructions on how to attach audio. So I go down and I go to edit captions. So here I can see all of my captions. Note, I check my last name, make sure it's spelled correctly. That's a common mistake. I'm going through, I want to look for technical terms in particular. So here I refer to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. The captions got this correct, but that's not always the case. Another thing that I look for is the vocal pauses. So I do say a lot of ums, as you'll now notice in this video. So I go through and I delete those. Once I'm done, I click save on the bottom right. And as you can see, my caption changes have saved. Fortunately, this is a short video, but if your video is longer, I recommend skimming through first to find those technical terms and making sure that they're accurate. Another quick tip, if you have students using VoiceThread, it's important to show them how to make it accessible. So we actually have a page pre-made for that. And so if you go to your Canvas homepage and click Commons on the left, it'll pull up this. You can use any of these resources, but to find UMSL specific ones, you type UMSL and then kind of scroll down. These are all fantastic, but the one we're looking for, accessibility guidelines for UMSL students. And so you can import this directly into your course. It's got guidelines for VoiceThread, PowerPoint, all the things that students might use in your course.
And Lissa's doing a double header for us. She's talking about two tools today.
Yes, so I'm going to start with Zoom because it's my bread and butter. It's where I spend most of my time. And it links into Panopto, which is the last tool we'll discuss today. So the great thing about Zoom is that captions and transcripts are automatically available. So we do have those features locked on for our users, and that is for accessibility. So they are available. The main difference between captions and transcripts, and you're welcome to turn either or both on in this meeting if you want to see what they look like. Captions are going to run across the bottom of the screen, and just as Julia and Katie were explaining with VoiceThread, where they kind of disappear after a certain time, same thing with captions in Zoom. The main difference with a transcript then is that it can actually run over in a side panel, and so it will have a record of the entire meeting. And so some people prefer that so that they can look back, especially if there is a lot happening in a meeting or multiple people trying to talk at one time. Not that any of us would ever talk over each other, but Zoom does tend to pick all of that up, and it's incredibly helpful if you need kind of that bigger picture version of what's happening. One other thing that I kind of recommend when you are hosting, so like I said, captions and transcript are automatically available. You or the teachers you're working with, they don't have to worry about turning any of that on. It's available for students. But there are some things that you can do to make your meetings a little bit more accessibly friendly. And it's really most of the time just kind of setting expectations. So if you think about somebody who might be using a screen reader, the chat in Zoom can get just a little bit overwhelming. So if you think about having a conversation up front, that's happening. And then if there's a side chat happening, that's just kind of adding to the noise in the Zoom meeting. And so sometimes it's just great to set that expectation and just let people know, like, I'm going to try to like, let's avoid having side conversations in the chat. If there is something that you want to say, go ahead and bring that to the entire group. If somebody does ask a question in the chat and you want to answer that, the best practice is to repeat that question out loud, say it. So then it also becomes part of your transcript. It becomes part of the captions. It's just available for everybody, and then continue on and answer the question. So those are kind of the best practices that we recommend just as you're going. And then with these, as transcripts are created, they can also be sent out after the meeting. I know we have some people who are doing that with AI companion features. Sometimes they're sending meeting summaries, but some are preferring to send out the entire transcript or have that available for users as well. Sometimes it's, if you're like me, I'm a much faster reader. And so sometimes it's easier to get the gist of a meeting by reading through the transcript or reading through those notes rather than rewatching the entire hour-long meeting summary. Obviously, for some classes, you want students to get the full picture, so it may be different depending on the setting, but that's usually what we recommend there. And then, of course, Zoom recordings do often feed into Panopto, so we'll talk about that more in just a second. But one other thing that I do want to mention, so Zoom also links to Canvas. And we often get questions about, like, should I use Zoom? Should I use Panopto? Or on the rare occasion, should I use the Canvas Media Uploader? Or should I have my students use any of these three tools? And the one that I would say don't use, especially for accessibility purposes, is that Canvas Media Upload tool. So if you are wanting to share videos with your students, you can, or instructors, training, whatever you want to do. You can record those in Zoom, have them transferred over to Panopto. You can record them directly in Panopto. There are lots of ways to share them in Canvas. But the one thing we don't recommend is that Canvas Media Uploader. And part of that is because it doesn't caption your videos. You would have to upload your own transcript. And really, you're manually captioning everything. And especially when we're thinking about quick tips and ways to make things more accessible, that one's not. It's just not easy. And so we don't recommend it. We don't recommend having your students do it because same thing as they were talking about with VoiceThread earlier, VoiceThread will automatically caption your students' items. And so that just creates more of a conversation opportunity. But if your students are uploading videos via that Canvas Media Uploader, that also won't be captioned. And so then you're kind of limiting who can actually review that video and get the most out of it.
And Alyssa, there's also a huge size limitation there, which would discourage faculty from using the Canvas Media Uploader. While it's nice because it's integrated and it's right there, it's just going to make your course run into a size issue really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that is one of the main reasons that we use Panopto. I will, as soon as I have a Panopto course pulled up, sorry, I thought I had one and I lost my tab. So give me 1 second here. But we'll talk about how all of these tools kind of integrate together, save you some storage space, get your captions, all of those things. So it's loading here. I'm going to use a very old Sandbox course that I have, but I think it'll give us an idea for today. So we already talked a little bit about Zoom. But Panopto is also available directly in Canvas. And if you're wanting your students or anyone to upload into Canvas, Panopto is linked so that it is accessible through the rich content editor. So if you are adding a page, if you are adding a discussion, anything like that, anyone can use Panopto directly through this rich content editor. So it's the small green icon here. It kind of looks like a play button or a triangle, or everybody tries to describe it and it's confusing, but Panopto does link directly that way as well. And so it's just a matter of clicking that Panopto icon, and then it will load up your available courses. Of course, I don't have any in this particular folder, but you can search for your other folders. So I could go into my folder and choose a previous meeting and get that added directly into Panopto, or directly into Canvas from Panopto. We already talked a little bit about Zoom, but Zoom recordings, for the most part, our default is for Zoom recordings to go directly into Panopto for long-term storage. That also passes over any Zoom captions, transcript, those will go directly into Panopto. So those are available for your students to view as well. And then they do also have a longer term storage, so that's not going to count against your course capacity that Emily was mentioning earlier with the Canvas Media Uploader. Panopto is cloud storage, and so that's one of the main benefits of using it. I do want to go into Panopto just a little bit because much like VoiceThread, you can have videos created automatically, captions created automatically, but that doesn't always mean they're accurate. We tend to say that Panopto video captions are 60 to 90% accurate, but that accuracy depends on things like acronyms and specific departmental terms, things like that. So I was trying to find, we'll go with this video here. Of course. So it'll take just a moment here to get ready to edit. Hopefully it's just a moment. But you can access this, and once that pulls up, we'll be able to edit all of our different captions as well. Let's see if I have another one. I think I edited this recently. Okay, this one's ready to go. So, and surprisingly a longer video, but neither here nor there. So as these captions are automatically added, you can go into captions and you can see that full list. You can see the timestamp on them as well. So you can get an idea of where those fall. And then again, if you notice, like, this is a very little thing, but my supervisor who is in this meeting is Kathy, but her name is spelled with a C instead of a K. So I could go through and just make that edit very quickly. It's just a little text box here. And so I could change that very simply. Because these captions are automatically generated, we do recommend trying to edit your video before you start adding captions, just so that the timestamps match up a little bit easier. It's not a perfect system, but it does show up there, or it does help if you make those edits first. You can also access the settings here and captions. So this is where you could also download your entire caption file if you want. So if you need that for any reason, if you wanted to post it somewhere else, you could do that. You could also request different captions, update those, things like that. This is how you would do that. As a default, any new courses that are created or course folders that are created will have captions automatically added to them. So as you're creating new videos, those should be automatically generating in Canvas. But if you have any questions about that, or you want to double check and make sure that they are coming in, you could do that at the folder level by going to back into the folder, the 3 dot settings, and then it's here under settings. So this one is set for automatic machine captions. They will automatically be there. So you would just want to make sure that turns on. And then the trick with this is that it will only apply to new videos. So if a folder, for some reason, if you have an older folder, it doesn't have that caption label turned on, but you already have videos in there, those videos will not be automatically captioned, but you can go in video by video if you don't have too many. Or our trick oftentimes is to move those videos into another folder briefly and then move them back. And then, yep, Panopto will see them as a new video and will suddenly realize, oh, this needs to be captioned. And so it will take care of that for you. So if you have a lot of videos that you're working with, that's generally what we recommend to try to beat out the craziness. You don't have to do quite so many clicks that way, but you can still get everything captioned. And I feel like I've been talking a long time. I think that covers most of it. But anyone, what am I forgetting? What did we talk about? Or if you have any other questions?